About 10 years ago, I worked for a short time at a small gas station close by to my house. Both of my kids had started school, and we always needed extra money. I was about 26 or 27 and hadn't really worked anywhere before, but it was fun. We stayed a little busy throughout the day, as there were 3 factories very close by, and we would get a lot of our traffic from the employees there, especially at shift change times. One weekday, mid-morning, I was working by myself, which was unusual, but my manager, who usually worked days with me, was out sick. No big deal, it was nothing more than I could handle. There were people in and out all morning, and nothing out of the ordinary was happening, until a transfer truck pulls in and parks to the side of the building. We didn't carry diesel fuel, but it wasn't unusual to have big trucks pulling for drinks, bathroom, whatever. The driver walks in. Tall guy, not unattractive, but a little creepy looking. He had a huge refillable coffee mug and asked me if there was fresh coffee and could he refill. I told him no problem. He fills his mug and comes up to pay and starts chit-chatting. He told me that he had a delivery for one of the factories up the street and asked what would be the best way to get in there. So I told him, no big deal, happens all the time. He then started telling me he was from Arkansas, and that after he dropped his load, he was heading back home for a few days. I was just politely nodding my head. Then he asked me if there was a restroom. I told him yes and pointed towards it, but didn't come out from behind the counter. He starts trying to chat with me again, without going to the restroom. He asked me if I was working alone, and that's when all kinds of signals start going off in my head. I told him my co-worker had to run an errand and would be right back. He winds up staying there for about 20 minutes, trying to small talk, and asking me at least 6 or 7 times where the restroom is. During this time, customers were coming in and out, and when someone would come in, he would walk around the store, kind of behind the shelves. At this point, I'm trying to stay calm and figure out what I need to do to get him the hell out of here. I looked out at the gas pumps and saw a man from one of the factories up the street on a forklift filling it with gas. When he comes in, I was trying to start a conversation and ask him stupid questions to get him to look at my face, so I could gesture where creepy guy was standing, behind the potato chips. He didn't catch the hint until he walked out of the door and turned back to look at me, and I mouthed to him, "Help me." He turns around and comes back in, and by this time, creepy guy had come out from behind the potato chips. Forklift guy asks me if I'm okay, and I tell him no. He asks if I need help, and I say yes. All of this being said very low, where creepy guy cannot hear us. All of a sudden, forklift guy runs around the chips and slams creepy guy into the Coke cooler, telling him that the lady wants him to leave. Get the fuck out. Creepy guy runs out, jumps into truck, and hightails it out of there, while forklift guy stays with me until I call the police. They get there, I make a report, gave the best description I could, and called a co-worker to come and stay with me, and the police and forklift guy leave. About an hour later, one of the cops came back to tell me that they caught the guy speeding on the highway leading out of town. He not only had an empty trailer on the back of his truck, so he hadn't been to drop his load, he didn't leave in that direction, and no way did he have time to get to the factory, unload, and get back out to where he was pulled over in that amount of time. But he also had a pistol that had been reported stolen in Alabama, and had just been released from prison, where he had served 2 years for rape, and was wanted in Missouri for not reporting into his probation officer after being released. I have no clue why he was in a transfer truck, or what the hell he was doing in a small town in Georgia, but he clearly was making his rounds throughout the southeast. I quit that job within a week, never worked in a gas station ever again. It was around 11 AM at night, and I had just finished working out in the gym. I went to the grocery store to pick up some food for the next couple of days. While at the store, I decided to get $120 cash back for money that I owed my mum, and unbeknownst to me, as I left the grocery store, it was money that I came so close to losing. Instead of going straight home, I decided to go for a little drive. I'd just got my car not long ago, and the novelty of driving stick hadn't worn off yet. After about half an hour of driving around the city, I decided it was time to head home. As I pass a gas station on the edge of town, but close to my house, I decide that now's as good a time as any to pull in and fuel up. I pull in, and I'm the only one at the gas station. I'm in an industrial part of the town, so there isn't much around. There's an empty lot that's without light beside the gas station, and I notice an SUV sitting there, about 100 to 200 meters away, but I don't think much of it. I get out and start pumping gas, when I notice a woman come around the corner and walk straight towards me. As soon as I noticed her, a shiver ran down my spine. I instinctively locked my car. She walked towards me quickly, hands in her pockets, staring at me pretty intensely the whole time. "I got in a fight with my boyfriend and he left me here. Can you give me a ride to my mum's house?" she said casually in her raspy smoker's voice. Another chill ran down my spine as she repeated the question, word for word almost, in that same raspy voice. I have to pump gas first," I said to her, keeping my eyes on her the whole time. She walked round to the passenger side door and grabs onto the door handle. "Hey, can you unlock your car? I'm cold. I've been here a while." "I've got to pay for gas first," I said, deciding to cut the gas pumping short. I walked inside and talked to the guy behind the counter. I told him that the girl outside was kind of suspicious, and I didn't know her. He just kind of shrugged, and I could tell he wasn't interested in getting involved, so I walked out. I figured she was high or something, but I would find a way to just get her to leave me alone. As I walk out, the SUV that I had mentioned earlier started up. I watched the driver maneuver himself so he could just drive out the exit. He stopped, engine still running, about 100 meters away. "Can you open the door now? I'm really cold." So many alarm bells were going off in my head already. First, she just looked sort of sketchy. She was dressed well enough, but her face was pretty rough. She was covered in makeup, but it didn't hide a nasty-looking sore on her lip. Her sunken eyes were dull, bloodshot, and just dead-looking. Second, she didn't seem like a damsel in distress. Not at all. She didn't seem upset, and she spoke without much emotion. "No, that's not my problem. I need to go home," I said to her, as firmly as I could. "Come on, you're driving me home, right?" "I can't. I have to get home right now." Reaching for my phone, I realized I had left it in the car. "I'm cold. I've been out here for hours," she shouts. Pretty angrily for someone who's asking a favour, I thought. Then I noticed her look at the SUV. I started cluing into what was going on and raised my voice a bit. "That's not my problem." I'm at the driver's door now. "I'm freezing. You said you'd drive me home." "That's not my problem." I started raising my voice. She started raising hers. We weren't yelling, but it was getting a little heated. We went back and forth like that for a couple of minutes. My mind was racing. I thought about losing my car, about getting stabbed or shot, about getting robbed for the $120 I had in my wallet. I just lost it on her. "Get the fuck back. You don't know who I am. Get the fuck back right now." I guess I was in fight mode at this point. I was pretty ready just to fucking clock this bitch if she tried anything, as awful as it may sound. I think I caught her off guard or something, because she stepped back right away. "You better get out of here right now then," she said, walking backwards. I instantly felt my balls tingle sadly and climb up inside me after she said that. I was out of fight mode and into fucking flight. I watched her until she got a decent distance away, noticing she was walking sort of towards the SUV. I didn't watch for much longer. I hopped in my car and peeled out of there. I turned into a random subdivision, making sure I wasn't being followed. I called the cops and they said they'd send a car, but there really wasn't much they could do because there was no real crime being committed. But I did the right thing, and she was most likely bait for some kind of robbery. I drove home as quick as I could. It was a normal day, almost like any other. I was spending the day with my grandmother. I was 10 at the time and enjoyed getting out of the house and spending one-on-one time with her. My mother was very poor, and I was a middle child with 2 brothers. I never had alone time other than with my grandmother from time to time. I relished alone time with her because she would spoil me with letting me get a soda every time we went out to town. This was a little treat my mother never let me have. I'm very pale, a female with jet black hair. My mum is Irish, and my father is Cherokee Indian. I always have received comments growing up how my dark hair and eyes pop with my pale Irish skin tone. I was very tiny at that age and petite. My grandmother would hand me money for gas, then $1 for soda. I had been into several gas stations before, and I always felt important telling the cashier what pump we were at and buying my own soda like a big kid. As I was rushing to get in that day, I had a weird feeling. My grandmother gave me the usual money to give to the cashier and was chatting on her phone while I ran in. Until this day, I don't know what it was that alerted me. There was this Hispanic man that was standing at the corner of the entrance. He looked really dirty, and I thought he might be homeless. He had old faded jeans on with what looked like some type of black oil on them. His shirt was halfway tucked in, and I remember the buttons were mismatched. I stuck my money in my pocket. I'm from the city and was not that ignorant of society. As I was passing by, he smiled at me and said something in Spanish and held his hand out. I was confused and looked around to see if he was talking to me. When I looked back up, he was in front of me, trying to grab my arm and pull me around the building. I threw my arms up in the air, and we had a mini wrestling match, or it felt like it. I was scared and my heart felt like it was going to jump out of my chest. As I was calling for my grandmother, she realized what was happening, threw her phone down and screamed at me to run. As she was coming after me, I pushed the man and ran back around the corner. As I was running towards anything but him, I saw a big van pull up. It had paint splatters all over it and duct tape over the one window, and there were several Hispanic men sitting inside of it. The original man by the door tried once more to get at me, and I could feel his fingers trace the back of my shirt. My grandmother was half sprinting towards me, and he must have realized it wouldn't happen. He jumped in the van, and I made it to the front of the store with my grandmother. I was so scared. My grandmother was freaked out and never let me walk into a gas station again by myself. Every unknown gas station I pull up to, I always think about it, and what could have happened if I didn't try to defend myself, or would have been gullible enough to venture to the corner where he was, out of curiosity. Going into Walmart, I would always see pictures of young girls missing with the caption, "Have you seen me?" It makes me wonder if there would have been just a slight shift that day to the events. Would I have been one of them? This happened about 15 years ago. It was dusk, and I was driving along a 2-lane road in rural PA when my car runs out of gas. I'd been about 5 minutes into my 20-minute drive when my low fuel light came on, so I figured I could make it to the gas station in the next town. I was wrong. It was, and still is, the first time I've ever ran out of gas. I was familiar with the area because I drove this road all the time to get back and forth between my apartment and my parents' house. This was back in '99, so I had a cell phone, but it was very basic. It was low on battery, and I had 1 bar of service. I was standing beside my car, holding the phone up to try and get a better signal to call my parents, when a car pulled up behind me, and a middle-aged guy got out. He seemed nice enough, but I was wary. I was a 19-year-old college student, alone. He told me he had a full gas can at his house, which was just up the road. "Get in my car, and I'll take you there, and then I'll bring you back," he said. I politely declined, and asked if he would just bring the gas while I waited. That's when he got agitated. "I'm a deacon at my church. I have 3 grandchildren, and my wife is at our house right now. Just come with me." Obviously, I said no. I think I even said something like, "Sir, if your wife or daughter were in my situation, would you want them to get into your car with a total stranger? Sorry, but there's no way I'm coming with you." He was obviously annoyed, but said fine, and told me he'd be back in 10 minutes with gas. As soon as he drove away, I tried calling my dad again. When my call finally connected, my dad left his house immediately. It took him about 20 minutes to show up, during which time I stayed in my car with the doors locked. The guy who supposedly lived right up the road never came back with the gas he'd promised to bring. Hi there guys, thank you for watching today's video. It may be a little late, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. If you have a creepy experience that you'd like to share, please make sure you email it to me using the details in the description box. Also there you will find details of my Facebook page and my Twitter account. And make sure you like, share, comment and subscribe to the channel because every little thing you do really helps me out. My next video will be a creepypasta. That should be out within the next couple of days, so I hope you look forward to that. I know I am, definitely. And until next time, sleep tight.